Your Friends and Neighbors Apple TV original series. I finally got to watch the final episode. Now, this show follows Andrew Cooper, or Coop as they call him. And he lives in a affluent neighborhood of a suburban neighborhood of Boston. And he is divorced, has children, and he has a very high profile job. And he is fired from his job. Strapped for cash, he decides to become a criminal. And what's kind of cool about this is he becomes a criminal, but he winds up stealing from his well-to-do neighbors, his friends. Jon Hamm. Some really amazing acting and character development. I believed him as this character, Coop. It kind of brought me back to the Mad Men days where Jon Hamm was just so great. Not saying that he wasn't great in other things, because he was. Fargo, he was amazing in that. He has really good comedic timing, and he does that in this show. The other thing that I love is the whole premise itself, and it does have this social commentary. The story is good, and the premise is there. I was like, okay, this is something a little new and different. The next thing that I loved about it was the cast, the overall ensemble of a cast that they had. I mean, Amanda Peet is so great in this. She plays Coop's ex-wife, and she nails it. She's this really tortured character in so many ways that's relatable, which I loved. But one of the standout characters in this show was Coop's sister, who has a mental health issue. Played by Lena Hall. She is really good in this whole dynamic between Coop and his sister. Then finally, what I loved about it was, look, it's an Apple TV production, and you're going to get something that's produced very well, and stylistically, it's all there. It's exactly what you would expect from an Apple TV production. Now, what didn't I like? The pacing was very inconsistent. And here I am once again saying, did they have an episode quota they had to meet, and that's why the pacing was wonky? I don't know, but I felt at times, I'm like, okay, already. Like, I mean, honestly, I probably could have fast forwarded some things and not miss anything. Not saying that they weren't trying to develop characters, they were, but they did that very early on. Like, you sort of knew who the characters were very, very early on. They didn't need some of this other fluff that was lining this series. The next thing is the overall lack of consequences for these people and their behavior. Like, if this was, it was just, at times it just wasn't believable. Here they are, living their life, and there's really no, even up until the end, you kind of like are let down a little bit with the lack of them being held accountable for any of the bullshit that they do. Then the other thing is that because I love Jon Hamm so much and this character Coop, at times he was narrating and telling you the story, and then you started believing his narrative, where I think if he wasn't doing, and that's probably what they wanted you to do, but I think you never really got to make a decision. You were being told instead of you evolving to a decision on how you felt about something. You're being told really how to feel about something. I don't know if I loved it or hated it. So I'm going to leave that as my final thing of a takeaway from the show. Overall, look, if you like messy lives, great acting, and a really cool story, this is going to be for you. I'm giving it a solid 3.5 out of 5 stars. Would I watch it again? Probably not, but I was in it for the entire season.